Mama, you made it kinda warm. Cat cold. Dig. Damn.
Baby, I'm so cold.
First of all, I like to say, check one, but always check two. I am the incredible one, the infamous and gorgeous, the one and only Delle Del, straight out of Chi-Town, doing what I gotta do best, making things happen. Some people think it's real simple and easy. It can be, but first of all, you gotta get focused and get yourself a goal. How did I get into business? All by accident. It seemed to be funny, but it was by accident. I started off real simple by being a dude singing in the church on the west side of Chicago, Garfield Park on Jackson and Carlow. Singing in the choir, doing my thing, and trying to DJ in my basement and playing records and taking that from 1-2, put myself together a group, and I was rapping and singing and trying to make things happen. I went away to school and put together a group when I was playing ball. I played college football for IC, which is Illinois College. And when I was downstate playing ball, I had a group down there as well. So when I decided to quit, because pretty much I did my year and a half of playing ball, and I looked at it as I really wasn't going to class, I really wasn't doing nothing, and it was like the school really didn't care. The only thing they cared about if I was great at tackling, if I was great at catching that ball or making something happen. So I looked at it like, really, I don't need to be here. I could go play ball in the vacant lots of Chi-Town, play ball in the park, and still get the same treatment that I'm getting here. So I left college, came back home, and I started off home on the west side. Then I moved out south to the south side in Inglewood on 65th and Aberdeen, if anybody know the area of Chi-Town. And I was hanging out over there, and there was a radio station called WHBK. While I was checking out WHBK, they was playing all the explicit lyrics, all the hip-hop and all that. So, man, I got to find out where this station at. Ended up going to the station and hanging out there. So it was cool. They had the little style of hip-hop going on. A couple of the hip-hop artists was in the game, and they was doing what they was doing. And I found out about another station up north, which was Northwestern University in Evanston. I went up there. There was a guy up there on the radio by the name of T. Chablis, which was one of the first cats to ever play hip-hop in Chicago. No, nobody knows that. Him and Purvis Spann, which was a blues DJ, but he broke groups like the Sugar Hill Gang and all them cats. And when I was little, I remember hearing them cats, like, man, Sugar Hill Gang, all them, they was on point. They was coming up. So I was like, man, that's kind of hot. So to be able to say rap was going to be something that it was, it'd be cool. But as soon as I touched the mic, everybody liked the delivery that I had on the mic, speaking-wise, rap-wise, everything. So next thing, I went from being a rapper and being an artist to being a personality. And from being a personality, I ended up with the #1 station in Chicago, which is WGCI, with my homie Ramonski Love and Disco Dave doing their theme song and hanging back on the scene, doing production and making things happen with that, which started off the whole game of me creating and becoming who I am today, Delle Del. Because no one ever knew how Delle Del was ever created, but it took time to create. So I thought about, if I was going to be who I was, put an image to it. So first I was just a Kango, gold chain, gym shoe. We were doing the Felines, the Adidas, the whatever the hottest little gear was back in the days. That's what we was doing. So I did that for a minute, but I said I need to create something that's gonna make sense. So I took a look at what was going on around me, and I got a phone call while I was doing radio one day from one of my homies who was a DJ Jammin' Jack Starlin. And he said, man, I just got a call, and they want me to come to Chicago, because he was staying in the suburbs, and they want me to run around and take all this promotional materials with posters, cassette tapes, CDs, flyers, flats, everything that you needed to promote an artist at that time. And he said, T-shirt, I had everything to give away, and I don't know what to do with it, and they want to send it to me, they're going to pay me to do it. He said, but I don't know where the record store is at. I said, man, just come to the city. He came to the city. I took him to the record stores from the south side to the north side to the east side to the west. to all the hottest stores around the city, to every store that was hot. Because back in the days, it was a record store everywhere back in the days. So when I would take him around, everybody didn't know him, but they was familiar with hearing me on radio and knowing who I was, so they knew, oh, that's Delle Del. He's the hip-hop guy, he's the radio guy, the little rapper, he this, that. So it was kind of like I was just showing them where to go. I wasn't there promoted. I was just that man, here, go here, there, go there. So later, about a month went by, 2 months went by, I get a phone call. One of the record labels called me. Oh, and let me go back to this. The artist we was working at that time was a group which was called the Alcoholics, Brand Nubian, and this little dude by the name of Tupac with a single called Trap. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The first time I ever heard Trap, I was like, they got me trapped. I listened to the song. It was like he was in prison on the song and this, and I listened to it, and I was like, I don't know, this going to work. But you're getting paid to do a job, so I did my job. But then he came back with a song called Brenda Got a Baby. The rest was history from him. He went from Brenda having a baby to when my homies called, and then he ended up with a record, he ended up with a movie deal for the movie Juice. And a lot of people don't get it. Tupac was just a straight up forward type of guy, straight to the point, making things happen. And he was kind of quiet, but he would speak his mind. And the only thing Tupac did, a lot of people don't get it. Tupac took the character that he played in that movie and added to the character that he was. Like I was explaining to you earlier, you got to make an image to something that you do. You got to make something that's going to excite the world, excite the people, to make the people want to be involved and want to pay attention to you. So he took the thug life of it and created Thug Life. And that's how he was able to make the thugs pay attention to him, the militant, the politicians, anybody that wanted to listen, he made the world listen. And when he was able to make the world listen, it was enough said. He was able to do whatever he wanted to do. So by him doing that and me thinking about who I was trying to create at the time, becoming Delle Del and becoming to being something so incredible and being something so fantastic that when I walk in a room or walk in a place, people say, him, who is that? You know what I'm saying? I had to think about it, so I had to end up changing up the ideal of being just a cat with gym shoes, blue jeans, and a hoodie on, or T-shirts on, and a baseball cap on. So I said, man, I'm gonna go get me some outfits. Now, when I was young, it's kind of weird. My mom used to dress me when I was a young kid. She used to throw me in these little outfits called Granimals. And Granimal was the little leisure suits with the little jacket and the pants. And so I said, man, my mom used to keep me with some hush puppies on or some good shoes and then. So I said, man, I know what I'm finna do. I'm finna grab me some nice outfits, throw me some little walking fits on or whatever I need to create and create a look. When I started creating a look, everything else started coming together. People started paying attention to, okay, so he walking in the room. He had a hip-hop event, but he's not dressed like the regular cat. He come dressed like a businessman. Because I knew one thing, in order to get business, you had to become business. And the business world will pay attention to you if you are business. Now, a lot of people don't get, now they're picking it up more now. What is the number one thing to get in a job? And what's the first thing somebody tell you in order to get a job? They tell you to dress the part. So in order to get into a situation to make something happen, you have to start dressing the part of who you want to be, who you're trying to be, and who you're going to be. So when me creating who Delle Del was, I put the look together, I created a smell, I created everything that needed to work to be Delle Del. You see what I'm saying? So when I created that and walked in the room, it made anybody who was in the music business or somebody whoever want to know who is that guy over there at that other table, or who is that guy at this table, or doing this or doing that, come try to pay attention to what was happening and going on. So once I knew that the look was there, like I said, I started thinking about what else could I put with the look, and that's when I said, okay, you gotta smell good at all times. When you walk in a room, smell like something. When you smell like something, you want to make females know you smell good, and you want guys to say, Man, what you got on? You want guys to pay attention to you. So you want everybody to compliment you on being who you are, what you're doing, and what's going on to create the image of what it is. It's like artist development. What made Motown #1 into being who they was? They developed the artists. They made the artists learn how to walk. They made the artists learn how to talk. And they gave the artists a personality of being who they had to be in order to make it into the world. If not, they would have been sitting on the radio or in front of a television interview with nothing to say. You feel me? So with that being said, I had to pay attention to myself and say, learn how to speak, learn how to look good, and learn how to always smell good. So whenever you're doing something that you need to do, it puts you to the next pedestal of being better than the next person next to you or whoever around you, and that make everybody want to just gather around and say, what do he got to say or what do she got to say in order to be the top person in that business. And that's how I became great in promotion, with promoting and learning how to walk in a room and make people want to take my CD or take a tape from me or take whatever I had to offer to give to them or present to them at that moment to listen to. That's what I had to do. So when I was creating all of that and becoming #1, going back to what I said after going out with Jam and Jack on the promotion run, I get a telephone call from a label, which they called me up. They said, hey, we want you to promote this group right here and this group. And I was like, man, well, I'm on radio. I don't really do promotion. They said, well, you do promotion. They said, you did this. I said, yeah, I do it. They said, man, we're going to pay you $2,500 per artist to go just. I said, well, I can get $2,500 just for passing out a flyer and a CD. I said, yeah, I promote. I said, you can mail my check and you can do this and do that and give me my business. So I started getting accounts from Rap-A-Lot Records. I started getting accounts from Luke Records. I started getting accounts from all the major labels. At that time, Dallas had just came out with a label called Rowdy Records out of Atlanta. And he had a group. See, a lot of people wouldn't even know this. Dallas had his hands in the hip-hop game for a long time. Dallas had groups like Y'all So Stupid, groups like Illegal, King and I, and a lot of people wouldn't know that Dallas was a big part of all of them groups back in the days, which was major groups out of Atlanta and New York and all them places. He was producing all that stuff. Dallas and his brother and his whole team had the production and things behind the groups ABC and groups like that. They produced all them records. So when I started working for Rowdy and like I said, all the other labels, man, they were sending like 18 wheelers full of product to me, like filling up the whole garage and basement full of nothing but product. So with me having all that product and doing that, I had to go pretty much everywhere. So that left me, I stepped it up. I went from being just a retail guy hanging up displays to saying to myself, let me add a little bit more to it. I started hitting the clubs. So I hit the clubs with the product. I started meeting DJs. So that let me start getting cool with the DJs. So now I'm cool with the DJs. I'm cool with the retail. And now I started saying to myself, what can I do a little bit more? Remember I told you earlier, it was a radio station called HBK and WNUR. I said, man, let me think. Let me put together a list of all of the college radio stations in this area. I put together a list of all the college radio stations and started doing WCRX, WNUR, Loyola University radio stations. I started putting all the radio stations together, put together my list and started going to visit them and find out what day that they play hip-hop. Once I found out what day they played hip-hop, I went in there, told them who I was. Some was familiar with me. And when I came in the door, they was glad to meet me and glad to know I was there. They couldn't believe somebody really came to visit them. They were like, a promoter came to see us? He really came to hang out with us? So I started saying to myself, ain't nobody thinking about the little guys. So I started thinking about, let's spend time with all of the college radio cats and all the radio DJs and the club DJs. Let me start throwing meet and greets. Started throwing meet and greets where I said to myself, let me feed them, let them eat. And I started thinking, what else would make this real exciting and real great if I brought this to the table? What is the most beautiful thing in the world? Women. So without women and flowers, you got nothing. A flower is a beautiful thing and a woman is a beautiful thing. So I said to myself, man, I need to try to figure out the female game of it. Now, I'd already kind of had an ideal on who I was creating and all the things about it. So I said to myself, I need to learn how to work with models and dancers and all that. So I said, I'm going to start finding them and putting them around me. I started looking for all the prettiest girls I could find. Anything that will walk in the building that a guy would point at and look at and made them drool on themselves, I said, I want her around. I want her in VIP. I want her in VIP. But then I started saying to myself, man, I could also go to the hood and take a regular hood girl out the hood and tell her, you're beautiful too. Only she needed to sit in the right chair, get her hair done, nail done, and everything, put the right outfit on her. Once you dress up something, it's just like taking an old car, hoopty, or whatever you got to take. Once you add the touches to it and you take the dents out of it and you do what you got to do to it, when you pull up to that club again, what do everybody say to you? Damn, where you get that car from? You feel what I'm saying? So once I started dressing everything up around me and taking what I already had that was dressed up around me and putting all the pretty women in it, all the DJs was excited, all the artists was excited. Why? Because they got a party that's off the chain with all the prettiest girls in the area. They got drinks flowing and bottles popping and the DJ knowing who they is already before they got there. And that took it to the whole level of the game of just saying to myself, okay, I'm just not a regular promoter. I'm not a street promoter. I'm bigger than a street promoter. So that go back to saying I had radio, I had clubs, I had the streets. And then I started putting major radio with it when major radio started coming in. So I was able to walk in to radio stations in the area and start working with program directors and dealing with the program directors or working the record. They had the program directors doing what they had to do with the record. You see what I'm saying? So with the program directors doing, letting me in and talk to them, I was sitting there with the top major cats who was walking in records from Atlantic Records, from Arista, from Def Jam, from Columbia, from Capitol, to whatever label that was at that time that was hot. I'm sitting right there with them. Think about it. I was a cat that came up from just running around doing retail. So I'm in the game now. So I look up, I get another phone call. Like I said, I had Rowdy. So I went from Rowdy to having LaFace. Went from LaFace to having Bad Boy. I went from Bad Boy to going straight Arista Records. And then I worked all that material. And then between that, I had Rap-A-Lot Records. I had Luke Records. I had, later on, once I went independent, I decided to myself, man, what would make sense? What have I haven't done? Chicago. I was breaking every artist out of town. You got to think about it. I was breaking artists from Houston. I was breaking artists from New York. I was breaking artists from L.A. off Death Row. I was breaking artists from Atlanta. I'm breaking artists in all these different cities, but I ain't broke nobody from Chicago yet. Oh, I had my hands involved with Twista before he was Twista. He was Tongue Twister. So I ended up working Tongue Twister project. When he was doing this thing that's Tongue Twister, I ended up working that project. And I took that around and introduced them to people and did what they had to do. But that wasn't a straight to the point project for me. It was a straight, like, contracted here, just take them around and break the record and put the displays up. So I did that for him. So Twister was the only, Tongue Twister at the time, was the only artist that I had that was on point to do, that I said that I did promotion with on the Chicago end. So when I started thinking Chicago, I said, man, I got to do something. So I got to looking around Chicago. I got to thinking, Chicago, what's Chicago doing? I didn't want to work for Arista no more, even though it was great. It was fun. All the work of all the major labels and doing what I had to do was great and fun. But I said, man, what could I do that's going to make this better? All of a sudden, my partner, Lucky, said he was starting a label with a guy by the name of the legendary Traxter, which was a producer. Traxter was an artist. First, a lot of people don't know that, hanging out with this little crew called Ill State. And they were some HBK cats. They was hanging out. He was an artist, but Traxter knew how to produce. So Traxter ended up producing the very first single on this group called Do or Die. Okay? And the song was called Po Pimp. So they said, man, we need to break this Po Pimp record. And at the time, Big Fub was with me, and Big Fub was fresh in the game. Big Fub was in the streets. He was a street guy, so he didn't know nothing about no music business. The only thing he knew was streets. Him and a dude named Marcus, we called him Crazy Marcus. And we put them together. I structured and helped them put together an independent company where Fub and them was the retailers, because they was the retail guy. They took care of all the shipping to the retail stores and all that. I came in and did all the promotion on radio. Then we brought in a few other cats, and we took everybody and put together a team. So we ended up with an independent record label in Chicago, which was a hip-hop label. So we worked the Do or Die situation, but I guess Do or Die always wanted to be on Rap-A-Lot or a major label or something. So Do or Die ended up jumping and going to Rap-A-Lot Records with their project. But we had broke the record already. We had the record big on the radio on GCI, and I had took the record downstate. I brought the record to Atlanta, had Greg Street play the record, and Greg Street, everybody was on this record. So when Rap-A-Lot signed the record and Do or Die did it, we had to think of something else, because you got to think about it. Only we weren't focused. It's like we had one artist. But Twista was featured on the record. He was still kind of signed over to Eric the Wiz at the time, which was a DJ out of Chicago that was on GCI spinning. But Eric was trying to get into the management business. He was managing Twista from when Twista was Tongue Twister. So Traxy then produced a record on Twista called Emotions. I said, okay, so this was going to be our thing. We got Emotions. So we took Emotions. I set up Atlanta Records. At the time, Big Oomp was the #1 retailer down here. Big Oomp and Peppermint Records and all that. Big Oomp had record stores everywhere. I came down here, got with Big Oomp and them, hit all his stores, hit everything that he had to hit, and hit the Peppermints, got up with I can't even think of her name right now, but she's big. She's still doing conferences and seminars right now. Man, I feel bad. Oh, wow. And she was like one of the top retail ladies in town. But we got up with her, and we took Atlanta by storm, because Atlanta wasn't used to it. But when we came down with Emotions, we was already working on an artist by the name of D.A. Smart with a song called Walk With Me. And we had a group by the name of the Snipers at the time that we was working on. So I brought all three of them projects down here. We hit all the stores with it. And when we worked the Twista thing, a lady by the name of Wendy Day, a lot of people probably familiar with her, came involved and helped them structure the label all the way to the fullest, and ended up with a deal with Atlantic Records. So now Seawall Records, the record that started off as independent, now had a distribution situation with Atlantic Records, which brought them to the forefront of being like one of the top labels, and so everything they was putting out was cool. So now they came out with a group called, you had Twista, you had Speed Not Monsters. Like I said, you got to remember they started off with the Do or Die. Then Snipers ended up with a deal. You had Johnny P that was singing on all the Do or Die stuff, and plus singing on Twista Emotion. Johnny P jumped. He supposed to had the first single on Seawall. He jumped and went to Rap-A-Lot too. So they all went to Rap-A-Lot. So a lot of people don't know if I can tell y'all some insight. Rap-A-Lot and Seawall fell out, really, because they got interested where they had a problem with each other. They got kind of interested where we had to make sure everything was squashed and everybody just understand this is business. Let's just work together. Let's cut the checks. So everything got worked out where everybody ended up squashing the little beef and problems they had. They ended up cutting the checks and getting to this where the business was. So after a while, I'm finna tell Twista and them business. I'm sorry, I gotta do it, because the facts is facts and truth is truth. And Twista and them started looking at, while we on the road, they looking at everything. So they looking at Traxter. Traxter jumping out brand new trucks. He kicking it. Traxter got jewelry. Traxter popping Rolexes like Delle Del. He doing things. He living that life. So they looking at his lifestyle. They looking at them in a little Astro van, and they kicking. They like, man, don't we think we deserve more money? We the Speed Not Monster, I'm Twista. So it became where the argument became over, we ain't getting enough money, which all artists always feel like they deserve more. So Twista and them didn't want to go back out on the road. They didn't want to do this and do that. So if you ever look back in history, just look back at it. It's facts. It's written. There's only one album that came out of that situation when they first released. What was the name of the first album? Adrenaline Rush. Yeah, Adrenaline Rush. And if you look, there's only one album. Then you had the Speeding on Mobster album. After the Speeding on Mobster album, there was no more. It was supposed to be Atlantic also had signed Traxxter and them to a deal with Toxic. Traxxter and a producer named Toxic, which is doing a lot of production. Have a production team that produced with Selena Johnson and a whole bunch of other people. Did records with, I think, Keisha Cole and a couple of other people he done records on. They had a record that supposed to came out as well. I think Shock the World or something they were calling themselves. And when they started dividing, Twista and them went with, which was a best friend of his by the name of White Boy James. And Big Fub was like managing Twista at the time, and they created a label called Legit Ballers. But let's stop and go back. I never told you this part. While I was on the road with them and I was watching all this break down, and they got to deal with Atlantic, I feel unloved. I feel like, damn, I done invested a lot. I feel like shit. There's something that I could be doing more. So I ended up at Freaknik. Oh boy, do I miss Freaknik. Ended up at Freaknik, and it was an artist by the name of Soundmaster T. Now TLC had already told me, which was an artist that I worked with off of the Face record, already told me they loved this record, Too Much Booty in the Pants, that was out of Chicago. I knew Soundmaster, because Soundmaster was producing artists like J.D. Walker and a few other artists out of Chicago. So I hit Soundmaster up. I said, man, I'm going to come see you. I went and saw him. I said, man, pack your bag. And he said, man, well, I ain't really got no money to do this and do that. I said, man, you going with me to this event. I took him down to the next year. I took him down to Freaknik and let him go down to Freaknik and see that he had one of the biggest records in Atlanta. You couldn't go nowhere without hearing the record Dance, Too Much Booty in the Pants. It was signed to Ichiban. He had signed a deal with a label to end up selling the rights to the song and licensing the song to Ichiban, and Ichiban had blew the record up. So when I brought him down, I had him chilling down here with him. I said, Monday after Freaknik, we going to Ichiban. So I let him hit all the clubs. He seen all the love walking in the clubs. He got to see a lifestyle he had never seen before. He got to see girls run up to him, and hotel full of nothing but women wanted to see him and meet him. Oh man, you signed him out? They was excited about him. So I left Seawall and said, I'm going over here with Soundmaster. He don't, I could work his thing and manage his situation, became his manager. When it worked out a check for him from Ichiban to cut a check, because they had a record, but no artist. So when he got his check cut over there with Ichiban, and next thing I put him on the tour. And he had groups like Lil Jon on the road with him. He had groups like Organized and all them on the road with him, DJ Smurf and Shoddy and all them, and it's crazy. D-Rock was on there before D-Rock. We got with Yin Yang. All them guys was on Ichiban, and he was the headliner, and all them was his opening acts. Now remember, Lil Jon and them was coming out. Lil Jon and Eastside Boy was coming out with a record called Who You With. They were just creating that sound of who you with. Nobody understood who you with, because they were just chanting, who you with, who you with. They were just chanting. Nobody understood it, but they kept doing it. I give Lil Jon credit. Lil Jon didn't need to be no artist. He was the A&R of So Def. He was working for Jermaine Dupri. He didn't need to become an artist. But he wanted to be an artist, I guess, and he got out there and created, like I said, go back to imaging and creating a sound, creating something that you need to create. And that's what most artists don't get. In order to make it in this music business, you got to have something on that stage. You got to have... Artists, now, they get on the stage and they don't entertain. Go look back at artists that entertain. The Fugees entertain. You understand what I'm saying? When Wyclef and them got on that stage, they entertained. Outkast entertained on stage. You had certain artists that when they got on stage, they just went about a mic and walk across the stage. They had something to bring to the stage. And you got to bring things to the stage that make people go on. I don't get, Kev, you did a little two-step, a little dance. You got to bring something to that stage that make people say, oh, man, oh, that's that new dance or that new this. Why you think the group Digital Underground, they created something, they created a dance. So they was able to make the world do what? The Humpty Dance. And now when the world's created, the Humpty Dance and the world was doing the Humpty Dance and Digital became who they was, it became a sound for them. So in order to make anything with any business, you got to make your imaging look good. You got to come up with the right concepts, the right layout. When a person walk in your restaurant, your store, anything, it got to look good to them. You got to make them want to shop with you. And it's just like the music business. Make people want to buy your music. Give them good music. Give them good things to look at when you create videos. Man, come up with it. If you look back at real videos, man, videos back in the days were like a movie. You didn't mind watching them 10 or 20 times. You're like, man, it was good. You know what I'm saying? It was like watching a movie. Now videos, so, people didn't got away from doing great videos. You get a few, but good videos are your vision. You got to deliver your vision and make people want and be impressed by what you got to bring. Now, I can sit here forever and talk about this, that, and that, and we'll be here forever and ever, because you got to think about I done work for groups like Goody Mob, Outkast, like I said, Twista, Do or Die, Soundmaster T. I can name some of Chicago artists, Color One, The Mercenaries, Right on Time, Triple Darkness, K-Smooth. Man, I would be here forever naming Filth Ward Boys from Houston, Ghetto Boys, and we don't got that much time. I can keep talking about me and how to do it, but it's real simple. I'm easy to find. My name is easy to spell. It's Delledel. I am the incredible one, the infamous and gorgeous. Who am I? Delle Del. What else can I say to you? A lot of things, but enough is enough. I'm about to enjoy this. And you enjoy your evening, your morning, your night, and kiss the baby for me. Good night.